All right, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Family Connection Hours. Thank you for joining us. My name is Kevin Simmons. I'm the Director of Parent and Family Programs here at Auburn University, and we're going to talk a little bit tonight about opportunities to get involved as a parent, whether that be as a board member or as an ambassador. So I've already had a chance to introduce myself, but we've got two of our board members with us tonight, and I wanted to give both of them an opportunity to introduce themselves before we get going. So, Angie, I'll let you get started.
Okay, good evening. Welcome. It's so good to be here tonight with all of you. And we're looking forward to having you learn more about the Auburn University Parent and Family Board. My name is Angie Morton. I'm currently the president of the Auburn University Parent and Family Association. I'm also a proud graduate of Auburn. And so it goes without saying that Auburn has held a special place in my heart for many, many years. I have four children, and two of them are at Auburn. One's going to graduate in May with her master's degree, and then I have a freshman. So I have seen all different views of Auburn. Um, and it's really been great. Being part of this board has really allowed me to stay connected with my kids and with the university. It's given me the chance to give some support to Auburn families, and of course, to give back to the university that I hold near and dear to my heart. So, War Eagle, and welcome everybody. Trent?
Thanks, Angie. This is Trent Ponder. I'm also a Auburn graduate, so War Eagle to everyone. I have two daughters that are currently. My wife's now actually an Auburn graduate, so we have the Auburn family complete. We have two daughters. One's finishing her master's in child life, and so we're excited for her opportunity. She got her undergrad, now she's doing her master's there, and then my younger daughter is a sophomore, and she is in the School of Education currently, and is hoping to get into that school as she actually interviewed there today for that opportunity. So
Awesome.
Auburn, the parent board to me has been a very special opportunity to give back to the university that we all find very special. It's also been very intriguing to see how behind the scenes how this university is successful because behind the people that help run it, and then they do a great job of listening to us parents, which is something that you probably don't think about when your kid goes off to college, but is still very vital of certain elements that we all are worried about, and we try to discuss as well as impact in any way we can possible. So I've really enjoyed my time on the board. I'm actually in advertising for a career, so communication seems to be a good fit for me. So this has been fun for me to kind of do this as a side opportunity to give back. So
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Trent. Thanks, Angie. So I want to get started a little bit by talking about the Parent Family Association as a whole. But before I go any further, I do want to give a little context for the two terms I'll use a lot in this presentation. So I'll say the Auburn University Parent and Family Association, or the AUPFA, and then sometimes I'll say Parent and Family Program. So the difference in the two is the AUPFA is a parent-led organization that is not necessarily affiliated directly with the university, whereas Parent and Family Programs is an office within the Division of Student Affairs at Auburn University, of which I am the director of. So you'll hear those two terms, and I do want to be clear, while we work very closely together, there are two separate terms. And so if you wonder why I'm using one instead of the other, hopefully that gives you a little bit of context there. So, a little bit about the history of the Parent Association. It was founded in November of 1992 under the umbrella of alumni affairs, and there were 12 board members at the time. So, if you look at the right hand of the screen, you'll see the number of members of the Parent Association and how that has grown tremendously over the years. At the moment, we define membership as anyone who is receiving communication through the Auburn University Family Portal, which is the primary communication hub for parents and family members specifically. In the early days of the association, there was a membership fee. There was a lot more print material, but as time and technology have evolved, we've moved more to a digital communication medium, and no membership fees are required to be a part of the association. And just to clarify, to be a member of the board or an ambassador, there are no membership fees for that either. But that's where we stand right now, and we've seen some tremendous growth. Looking at our board members right now specifically, we have 15 on the board, a maximum of 16. One of the questions I've got over the last couple of weeks about this is, do you have to live in Alabama, or do you have to live a certain number of miles from Auburn? That is not the case. As you can see from the screen here, we have board members from Connecticut to Arizona to Colorado to Florida. You can live all over the place and be a member of the board. So there is no hesitation whatsoever if you do live a great distance away from Auburn, as long as you're able to meet those requirements for the amount of times you do have to be on campus as either a board member or an ambassador. So the purpose of the board is very similar. The purpose of the association and parent and family programs as well is very similar, as to partner with Auburn University parents and families to engage, inform, and support them in assisting their students' overall success. So that at the end of the day, the parent board exists, the parent and family programs office exists because we want students to succeed. And we know that parents who are involved and who are rooting their students on from the back seat or in their corner, those students are more likely to graduate. They're more likely to be retained from one semester to the next, and they're more likely to have better career outcomes as a result of having that support. So I do want to emphasize those three words there: engage, inform, and support. So I'll talk more about the engagement piece in just a moment. Inform is a big thing that Parent and Family Programs does with the assistance from the AUPFA. All the details that we send out through the family portal, whether that be from billing to academic advising to career counseling to ways for your student to get involved, ways for you to support your student, all that content that we send out, we share with our parent board. And specifically Trent and the committee he oversees, they give us a ton of feedback on what parents want and need to hear from us. So, I have a daughter myself, but she's 2 years old. So I don't really firsthand experience the same struggles that college parents do. And that's one of the big things that our board members do is they help us make sure that the communication efforts that we make are in line with what Auburn parents and families need. That goes for our social media as well. And then that last point is to support. So parent and family programs has an active parent helpline where you can call in or email in. You'll get me 90% of the time when you call into that helpline. But as I mentioned, I'm not in the trenches right now with a college student. So on more than one occasion, I've provided support, but I've also connected parents with other board members. I know Angie has had a couple of parents reach out to her specifically on kind of case by case situations. But if you have a question about what it's like to be a board member, you can look at or excuse me, like if you have a question that's kind of specific to your situation. So maybe you have a student who's an athlete, or you have a student who's studying abroad, or maybe you just have a student that's going through a hard time with like a breakup, or they're struggling to find their fit. 90% of the time, there's going to be somebody on our parent board who's had that same experience, and they're going to be able to share that experience with you and provide some guidance and insight. So, we do want all of our board members to provide support to all of our parents and be a voice for them as well. I'll mention as well that Trent said is when we do have our three annual meetings, which I'll talk a little bit more about in advance. Our board members really do serve as the voice of all the parents at Auburn University. So if you see a concern, we want you to tell our board members about it, and we want our board members to relay that back to us as well. A little bit more about the engagement. I did say we talk about that in a second. These are the big accomplishments for the board over the last year. The biggest event that the board hosts is Fall Family Weekend, and I know many of you may have participated in that or at least be familiar with that. That is the signature event that welcomes nearly 4,000 families to campus for the largest tailgate that is on campus, likely all year, but definitely for that weekend. We always coincide Fall Family Weekend with homecoming, and I will say that this board is a working board. That tailgate, there is a lot of manual labor that goes on in there. There's moving tents and chairs and setting up and checking parents in and getting the giveaway items ready to roll. Communication efforts on the front end and the back end as well. So I do know that you may break a sweat if you're on the board, especially over Family Weekend. Our Spring Family Fling is a new event that we held for the first time last April. That is a little bit of a smaller, more intimate event. We expect this year to have closer to 300 guests. That event is a luncheon that coincides with A Day. So this year it'll be from 12 to 2 p.m. on April the 18th. Would love to have you if you're interested. Tickets do go on sale on March the 2nd, but it'll be a great way to kick off A Day before the big game at 2 p.m. One of my favorite things that the board does annually is the Faculty and Staff Awards. I'm going to put a little link in the chat that showcases our Faculty and Staff Award winners from this last board meeting that we had. But it's really great. So how that works is we put out a call for nominations from all of our parents, not our board members or ambassadors, but just all our parents. And they'll nominate faculty and staff members who have done a particularly outstanding job. And then our board will decide, which is a tough choice, of those nominated, who do we recognize at our spring and our winter meetings? So we generally have about six award winners. And it's a really great way to acknowledge a group that doesn't always get the recognition that they deserve. One of our previous president, I know Angie feels the same way. We do want the Parent and Family Association board to be known for recognizing excellence at Auburn, not just pointing out like here's ways to improve, but also recognizing people and whether that be faculty or staff that really are doing a great job. So that's one of the cool things about the faculty and staff awards. Family Connection Hours is a webinar series that was started this fall by Parent and Family Programs with the goal of just keeping parents engaged and informed throughout the semester. One of the things that we ask our board members and our ambassadors to do periodically is to participate in Family Connection Hours to provide support and guidance for families. That's what Trent and Angie are doing right now. This is a part of that webinar series. So if you're on the board, there's a good chance that you'll be asked to participate and provide guidance in this medium as well. And then lastly, participation at events, and this is one that our ambassadors really play a key role in, is welcoming new families. These are largely done at recruiting events like War Eagle Days, Talons Days, and even this Friday we've got a couple of our board members helping out with New Admitted Students Day. But we also do these send-offs events, so you'll notice that send-off events take place all over the country. I know Angie participated in one in Tampa last year. Tom, another one of our board members, participated in one in the DMV area. So we do want our board members and our ambassadors as well, as much as possible, to participate in those events. And then we do also participate in the business fair. It's the business fair table at Camp War Eagle. It usually is on day two, so you'll see a lot of businesses there. But the Parent and Family Association is also there to give away some cool swag items and just get to know you and get you prepared for the fall semester as well. So those are some of the big accomplishments from the last year and some of the things that you might anticipate being involved with if you were selected to be on the board. All right. So in our board, we do have four committees, and each of our executive board members do lead committees. So I'm going to let Angie kick us off first to talk not only about vetting, which is the committee that she oversees, but events as well, because that was a committee that she's overseen in the past.
So for the vetting committee, our committee, there's three of us on the committee, and we will be conducting the interviews once the participants are selected or the candidates are selected. All of those resumes and applications will come into Kevin, and then they will come, he'll go through them first, and then we'll go through them together as a team, and then we will begin setting up interviews. Once we have our interviews, then between our vetting committee and Kevin, we will begin sending out emails inviting those to become part of our board. We should have we'll start with the interviews towards the middle of March, and then we should be wrapped up with everything by, did we say April, middle of April? I think April 20th, 18th, 20th,
Yeah.
somewhere in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that'll be at the latest. Hopefully we'll be done before then, but
Okay. And so we look forward to getting to know you guys. I know there's probably some specific questions that you will have about that interview, and we'll open up some time to ask those specific questions, but that's the overview of what the vetting committee actually does. We vet the potential candidates and interview them, and then select those to be on our board for the next year. And then moving over to events. Events is near and dear to me. I did events for a couple of years, and I would just like to reiterate what Kevin said. We are a working board, and the fall event that we do in September, well, it's usually in September, but on homecoming weekend, it is we work all weekend. We get there usually on Thursday night, and we start early Friday. We start setting up and giving out tickets Friday afternoon, and then we work the entire event on Saturday before the game. We usually all go to the game together afterwards, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. Kevin and his team do a lot of the preliminary work, getting everything prepared for us. But once we get there, everything is ready for us just to hit the ground running. And then it's kind of the same thing for the Spring Fling event. we'll have another event in the spring coinciding with A-Day weekend. It's not nearly as big as the fall event, but it's the same thing. It'll be at the Wellness Kitchen this year, which is over by what used to be just the athletic dorm. Now it's mixed, but we'll set up there, and Albie will come and visit, and we will have an opportunity for everyone to come in and grab some good food and fellowship with other Auburn families, and hopefully your students will come and join us, and then we'll wrap up and head over to see the A-Day game and see what we have in store for next year. So that pretty much sums up our two big events. Again, if you have any specific questions about those, you're more than welcome to ask when we open those up for questions.
So yeah, let me jump into communications. So that's a committee that I'm over, and it's been exciting to see how I would assume the communications in my eyes has improved. I will say Auburn University is one of the gold standards in the ways of communications to parents. The website that we use, the portal setup, our metrics are usually some of the best. That means we have committed parents that are concerned about knowing what's going on their campus. We all know our students don't tell us everything. So this is a great way to communicate. And, for those awkward conversations you might have when your children does call home, maybe, hopefully, you can at least start by, hey, I saw this on the parent board. Are you aware that A-Day is going, or Hey Day is going on next week? Yeah, I saw something about it. Well, are you going to stop by? It at least allows you to have that conversation piece. So our goal is to at least make you aware of all things going on campus. It also allows you to just have an update on when your bill is due. I mean, you'll want to know when that is, right? And then if your child and your student is so kind, you can actually look at the grades on occasion on midterms and finals. So at least we tried our best to allow you to be aware, a little bit aware. So communications also talks about, for those parents that may or not familiar with Auburn, the city of Auburn, we've come up with the Parents' Choice Awards, which I think has been well received. That allows families who come in from out of town to know if my child's tire, pops, what's a good, respectful company in town. So we have built a pretty good list. Nails being done, best food, best flowers. Some of those things are priorities as parents, that we make sure our kids are in good placements. Also, from a social media standpoint, we've utilized a lot of the student affairs programs, and it does a great job of capturing it. We've also done some reels for parents. Talking about, have you made plans for move-in day? Have you talked about the summer plans? Have you got a storage unit reserved? What is one thing you forgot? And those kind of stories that parents want to hear, because there's always something that you can learn from that. So we try to get those out on occasion as well. And then we have some fun. Like you may have seen, we do some contests. Take what's your pet in Auburn gear in the best location. That's been always a fan favorite. Parents that are empty nesters, where are they traveling to now that they don't have any more kids? That's been a real fan favorite. And then, we'd also interview kids on campus for some fun things like Mother's Day, Father's Day. So we're just making it light, making it fun, and that's usually pushed through social media. So, and then because I'm in advertising, I thought it would be good. We're not a profit organization. We're 503c, so we're just here to try to provide resources. But advertising can help parents as well. So if you get on the portal, you might on occasion see a small little banner ad at top talking about where to stay for football weekends at a hotel called the Collegiate, as a possibility. Or, as your kid considered study abroad program, we just wrapped up that one. We've done, other opportunities around campus. The Jay Gooch Performing Arts Center was our first advertiser. That was cool because that's, again, helping parents out, because when they come into town, they may not be familiar. What do I do if I'm not spending, as we all know, our kids want to spend a little time with us, but not all the time. So we have a lot of downtime with them. So, hey, go check out what's at the Gooch Performing Arts Center. There's opportunities there, and so forth. We're actually just partnered with the Auburn Opelika Tourism, chapter. And so we're going to be using them as a resource as well. So just trying to give you guys communications as parents to know what's going on campus. And then if you come into town, what you can do off campus in the ways of housing or food or entertainment, those factors. So we're just, as well as a communication piece, we're just trying to provide all elements to that from our standpoint. So I know I'm a communicator, probably talk too long, but I wanted to share all the good things going on. So,
You're great. Thanks, Trent. And I'll say I've only been in my role for about a year and a half now, but we've made incredible strides as far as the not only offering another event, but the quality of what we offer with Fall Family Weekend and Spring Family Fling. And then additionally, Trent has done a great job of leading the communication efforts. Not an area where I have a ton of experience in, and he's definitely moved me in the right direction, and I appreciate the guidance there. So these are, two of the best and the brightest that we have to offer, which is why I asked them to join in on the presentation tonight. So thank y'all. I do want to talk a little bit about our operations committee as well. That is led by Jamie Lopez, who is one of our board members. She's from the Phoenix, Arizona area. And so there's two big things that committee does is they oversee the bylaws of the organization, which those are in a pretty good place right now. But one thing that Jamie and her committee are working on right now is an annual report that will be, displayed to all parents, but also to university leadership as well, kind of outlining the highs and lows of the parent experience at Auburn, but also what exactly the association, board members, and ambassadors do. We do also have an annual survey that goes out, and we do want to have a place to display that feedback as well, not only to parents, but university leadership to display both the successes and the challenges that are faced as well. And so Angie is in the process right now of leading that committee to get that report together. And that's something that we anticipate being an annual task for the operations committee. All right, so a little bit more about board member requirements, which is probably something you're all wondering about. So the four things I do want to emphasize here is that board members are required to serve 3-year terms. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that if you're only able to serve a 2-year term that you can't. So the main requirement of being on the board is you have to have an active Auburn student. So if you have a student who's going to be a junior next year, you may only be eligible for a 2-year term. I do not want that to discourage you from applying. Please do. And our board members will use their discretion and kind of outline the needs of the board and how many people we have rolling off the board in any given year. So please don't let that stop you from applying. I will say if you have a student who's going to be a senior next year, so you might only be eligible for a year or a year and a half on the board, it's highly unlikely that you would be admitted based on those factors specifically, just because the goal is a minimum of 3 years. We have accepted two at times, but it would be much less likely if you were only to have a year or a year and a half to be on the board. That would be a great opportunity for you to be an ambassador, though, because the ambassadors, which I'll talk about in just a moment, there's no requirement for term limits there. More about the board, you are required to attend 3 on-campus meetings every year. The first will be the fall meeting, which is centered around Fall Family Weekend. That's always going to coincide with homecoming weekend as well. So this year, that is September the 25th through the 27th. The winter meeting we just wrapped up on the weekend of January 30th, usually late January, and the spring meeting coincides with A Day, as we've previously mentioned, and that is going to be on April the 18th this year. So the meeting itself, they're always on Fridays, will be on April the 17th. In those meetings, we'll have guest speakers. We'll have opportunities for the committees to break out and do work. During the fall, as Angie mentioned, a lot of work just getting everything ready for Family Weekend is a really big endeavor. But we also do have opportunities for our board members to give feedback to university leadership there and advocate for our parents and our students as well. We do ask board members to volunteer at Camp War Eagle at that table during the business fair that I mentioned earlier. This is one of those things that it's not as much of a requirement as being at the 3 on-campus meetings. Some of our board members live a great deal away. We have board members in Arizona and Chicago and Connecticut, and it's not as easier for them to hop to campus over the summer as it might be for some of our locals. So we do want you to be there, but it is not a mandatory component in the same way that attending the 3 meetings a year are. And lastly, the big thing is just the engagement and the communication efforts with our families. And, Trent and Angie do a great job of leading those efforts. But if you're going to be a part of the board, those are two things I would want you to consider. What do you think our parents need to hear? How do you think they need to be communicated with from the university? And then additionally, what are some ways to engage parents, whether that be through social media, whether that be through our family portal or our events or, whatever way it is, those are some ideas and some things that we want you to consider. All right, I want to talk a little bit about the ambassadors, which is a relatively new thing that the Parent and Family Programs and the Parent and Family Association has offered. As I mentioned, the Parent Board is one of the oldest in the countries, but the ambassadors is something that was started just a couple of years ago. And the goal for the ambassadors is if you want to be involved, but maybe you don't want the commitment of being on campus for the three annual meetings, it is a little bit of a lower commitment. You can be on campus with more flexibility because there's a variety of different opportunities for you to engage parents at recruiting events, at family weekend, at Camp War Eagle. As I mentioned, this Friday we have an opportunity for new admitted student stays as well. But the goal for our ambassadors are primarily to engage and welcome new families. And if that's something that you find that you love to do and you want to welcome people to Auburn, an ambassador is going to be a great fit for you. As I mentioned previously, there's no term limit on being an ambassador. So if you want to be an ambassador for 1 year or 4 years or however many you see fit, you always can as long as you have a current student here at Auburn. So that is something I do want to make sure that everybody views as a great opportunity as well. So the application timeline, board member applications are open right now. We've had 16 applications submitted already, and the closing date for that is going to be February the 28th, with interviews starting on March the 16th. I will say that's a quick turnaround, so we do want you to get those applications in no later than February the 28th because communication will be going out very shortly thereafter to the candidates that we will be interviewing for those board member positions. And then with the ambassadors, that'll start on April the 1st through the 30th, and then interviews will take place in early May. I do want to say um, this is going to be a fairly competitive process. I know I participated in this the first time last year. This will be Angie's first time participating in the vetting process. We have a tremendous amount of exceptional candidates to be on the board, and we have a very limited amount of board member spots that we can give. So it'll be 3 or 4 new members of the board. As I mentioned, we've already had 16 applicants. We've got about 50 people on this webinar right now. So it is an incredible challenge, not just to identify who we want to get on the board or who do we want to offer a role on the board to, but also who we want to offer an interview to. We can only interview so many people as well. So do know that this is an incredibly competitive process. And if you were not selected, it is because of just that. It is so competitive. We do the best we can to get the people we think would fit the board the best and would serve the parents' needs the best. But we are doing the best we can, but there does present some challenges just with the limitations that are there. And additionally, with the ambassadors, we're going to have about the same 4, maybe 5 positions available for ambassadors. So it'll be a competitive process also. So do know that going in, we're going to do the best we can, but it is a competitive and challenging process for all involved. Um, it would to submit an application. I do want to go ahead and stress the first step in that is to email a copy of your resume, preferably a PDF, to parent@auburn.edu. What'll happen then and is I will then or whomever responds to that email will send you a direct link to the application. Some people have written a lot of detail in that email, which is great, but just know you're going to get asked to write it again in the application. So you can feel free to just say, hey, I'd like to apply to be on the board, and we'll get that application to you. And that's where you can go into a little bit more detail about why you think you would be a great fit for the board. I'm looking at my notes, and I think I have covered just about everything that I wanted to. I do want to give Angie and Trent an opportunity to hop in here if I missed anything, but we're also going to have some time for questions. I did tell Angie and Trent that we would be out of here by 7 o'clock, so we've got a full 30 minutes. So if you've got questions, please don't hold back. We're happy to help out.
Yeah, and I just like to offer, and of course, again, communications, what actually happens at the board meetings. And so we have a full day, usually on that
Mm.
Friday is the a full day of board meetings. And usually we have, as Kevin alluded to earlier, we usually try to recognize some instructors or employees of Auburn to do that. And then we get into the business at hand, what we've got to accomplish. And then we also have some real opportunities to hear from some great leaders on campus that lead certain like the bus system or security. I mean, there's so many great ways just to find out so many great things that we're doing behind the scenes. So we then can carry that message back if those questions do come up. So, and then usually we have a kind of a fun activity for the group. And then, the next day is usually an event or something going in like either fall film weekend or spring fling. Our winter one is usually the most laid back one, which is sometimes the most enjoyable because you don't have to run to an event. But we love those events because as I've learned doing the events, yes, it's a lot of work, but just to see the excitement of families coming to get back on campus to see their kid is it's so enjoyable because we all know college can be daunting, It's exciting, but also they want to see mom and dad. They won't tell you that, but they do. So
Oh
just to
yeah.
see that camaraderie between mom, dad, brother, sister, and that college student is fun to see. Knowing that I'm in that same boat, but I've now done this a couple of years, and so I can relay on some tips and anything I can. So just want to kind of relay kind of what the board meetings look like. I mean, there'll be more specifics, but that just gives you a ballpark. So.
Yeah, for sure. Thanks for adding that in, Trent. All right, so Matt asked a question. Besides the in-person meetings, how often does the board meet? So Angie and Trent, feel free to chime in if I miss anything here or you like to add any more. So the three annual meetings are the only required components for in-person meetings. Angie, Trent, and the rest of our executive board, so Diane Herzog with events and Jamie Lopez with operations, we meet usually once a month to talk kind of big picture stuff and what's ahead for the board. Angie and I will also meet periodically as well. Just being president, there's certain topics that I like to get her feedback on as we're planning for the board meeting as well. Trent and I do meet periodically as well, especially if we're talking about advertising or any new initiatives that we're doing as well. But the components, the three annual meetings are the primary meetings for everybody, but the executive board, the leadership of the board, do meet more regularly.
And I'll just throw out for my committee, the communications committee, we all communicate every day with our phones. That's usually how we do it. So I'll throw out some text. Hey, what are your thoughts about this? Or what do you think about this communication piece? And we usually just, my committee is usually just quick to respond that way. So I know time is challenging, so I don't really want to overwork these people. It's a volunteer board, so usually that's our communication. But I do enjoy the executive board calls because it kind of we see behind the scenes what's really what we're working on and what the board meeting will be like. So
For sure.
I'll echo what they both said. For the events committee, as we get closer to that homecoming weekend and you get closer to A-Day, that events committee will start talking more just about logistics and how things are going to work, and they'll meet as needed. It's not a set time. It's just kind of as needed to prepare for the event. And then even though this is my first time with vetting, the vetting committee is going to meet and be prepared from the time the application window ends until we make those final selections. So it's a very specific amount of time that we will meet. Overall, as the executive board, it's not super time consuming. You think about things a lot and you work on things on the side, but as far as like being somewhere in a dedicated time spot, it's about once a month for our executive board meetings, and then whatever committee you're leading, just whatever time it takes to fulfill the requirements of that position.
For sure. I'm glad y'all added that in there as well. The committees do have their own kind of separate meeting times throughout the year as well. This is a great question from Keith. If you've applied for the board of directors, are you also considered for the position of ambassador, or is there a separate application process for that? So in the past, Keith, that has been the case, but moving forward, there is going to be two separate application processes. So that will be April the 1st through the 30th. It's the same exact process. We'll ask you to email a copy of your resume and just let us know you're interested in being an ambassador, and then we'll get that application over to you. We just ask that you do that sometime between April the 1st and April 30th. We'll put out plenty of communication through our social media and the family portal that those ambassador applications are open. But it's not open right now. So it'll be open April the 1st through the 30th. This is a question from Donna. Said, assuming if we don't get selected to the board, can we apply as an ambassador? How many ambassadors are there, and is there a cap on that group? So right now the cap on that group is 8, and we've got 5. We do expect to have somewhere around 3 to 4 ambassador positions open as well. So same process there. It's going to look very similar to the board. We're looking at about 3 or 4 spots. If you do apply to the board, that whole process will be done in time for the ambassador applications to open up. So you'll know if you were selected on the board. And that way you'll have all the information needed to know if you want to go through the process of applying as an ambassador or not. Matt, thank you for covering that. That email address is parent@auburn.edu.
I think there's
Ari
a question.
Boardman,
Yeah,
uh,
the interviews will be virtual.
yeah,
Yeah, we have so many people from so many different spots. It would be very hard to bring people in. We don't want you to make that kind of investment to travel to Auburn. Yes, we want you to come see your child, but
yeah,
we'll do those virtually. So
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Trent. Next question, what kind of resume is needed? I mean, we're not, I would say whatever you use for anything else in life will be perfectly suitable for the board. You don't have to tailor it too specific. I mean, obviously, if you want to, my wife is a career counselor, so I know that you can certainly tailor your resume to a variety of different things, but I wouldn't get too specific on it. A lot of the details we're going to pull are going to be from your application itself as well. So that's where you'll have the opportunity to talk about your skill set and how you think you would be able to be a valuable addition to the board and what your desire to do so is.
Good questions, everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, all right. So we're sitting no questions right now, but while we wait, I'm going to put Angie and Trent on the spot, and if y'all don't mind, I'm going to ask you both what's been your favorite part about being on the board?
And do you want to
You're
go?
not-
I'm ready,
okay.
but okay.
Go
Uh, my favorite thing so far is just the opportunity to see. We love Auburn, right? We sent our kids there. We I graduated from there. Is just to see all behind the scenes, these people that are doing great work for our students. In the ways of, I mean, there's things that people don't want to talk about, but they're trying their best to get, housing under control, the bus system, make sure everything gets covered off campus, the dining halls, the safety, the things that really matter to us as parents. They bring these speakers in, university employees in, and they want to hear from us, and that's what's exciting. I'll give you a little nugget. Camp War Eagle, they came in and asked, what things would you adjust if you could? And we tweaked a little things. Then they've got a pretty good footprint. That thing worked. It's a fine oil machine, but they did listen to some of our things, ideas. Some of the breakout sessions could be condensed, where you could those kind of things. And so we offer that to them, and they listened to us. So I think, and then I think the drive of our board now is getting really, it's getting real clear vision that we really want to have an annual report that hopefully goes to President Roberts, eventually, and he sees that there's parents that are vested in their kids' education, but also in making Auburn even better. So that's what I would say.
I would echo all that too, Trent. And I would also say that I have loved learning and seeing what the leadership of this university is doing for our students that are there. You see this big university and all these students, and you think that it's just kind of a carte blanche. Safety's always this, and transportation's always this, and housing's always this, but they are constantly looking to make everything better. They're always trying to step it up a notch, whether it's Camp War Eagle or it's the traffic lights at Toomer's Corner, or um, the kids that are camping out for the basketball games. Kind of they go into detail about how all that works, and just learning the behind the scenes um, that goes on at the university, and actually being able to be a voice in that. They use us to ask questions, and these speakers come in and they really do want our feedback. And we have, as a board, as a association, we have come up with some things that we've been pretty vocal about, and we've reached out to those different departments, and they have listened to us, and they've come back and given us updates, letting us know you were heard, and we've done things, and it just feels really good to be appreciated, and to know that they are listening to the families and the parents of these students who are paying this money to go to this school to make it even better year after year.
Yeah. No, thank you both for sharing that. And I learn something new in every meeting as well as an employee. There's always things that I maybe should know or maybe just had never had the opportunity to speak to that specific person who's presenting that day. So they are very informative. I'll add one other thing that I really enjoy. I was looking at that picture earlier, and our board right now, and this has fluctuated over the years, is a lot of Auburn graduates. Not always been the case. But we have plenty of people on the board who did not graduate from Auburn, and so this is their first time getting the full experience and the full scope of the Auburn experience. Like myself, I'm not an Auburn graduate, so it's really cool to watch people become more ingratiated and their affinity for the university grow and grow as being somebody who did not have maybe the background that Angie and Trent had as graduates. So that is a really cool part of that as well. Another question, we may be winding down here if we don't have any more. How often does the ambassador group meet during the year? Right now, there are no scheduled meetings for the ambassador. That's something we've talked about doing, but that is more of we'll send you the list of events and let us know which ones that you want to participate in. I'll meet with the ambassadors periodically on a one-on-one basis. We chat on the phone or we'll meet for lunch, just kind of talk through the year. But there's no formal meetings for the group as a whole. So as I mentioned earlier, this webinar is a part of our bigger webinar series, Family Connection Hours. And so we've got a few more of those left this semester. The next one is about how to support your student over the summer. So I have three of our board members. Trent will be one of them. So if you like Trent, he will be back again this time next month. But they're going to talk about what it's like to welcome a student home for the summer. It's not something that I've done personally, but I've heard my share of stories that the summer before college and the summer after college can be two dramatically different things. So we'll talk a little bit about the ins and outs of that and just some more practical ways to support your student as their college experience at Auburn here continues. So you can use that link in the chat if you'd like to go ahead and register for that. I will say all of our sessions that we do, they are recorded, and if you register, we will send you the recording link afterwards along with the survey. So even if you're just vaguely interested and you're not sure if the time's going to work for you, go ahead and register, and we'll make sure that recording gets to you as well. If you know anybody who is hoping to attend tonight but didn't get the opportunity to do so, as long as they scheduled, they registered, they'll get the link. But if you want to pass that link on to somebody else who you think might be interested in applying to the board or as an ambassador, please feel free to do so. But that is going to wrap up all the content that we have here. I'm going to stick around for a few more minutes if any questions do come up, but I do want to give you the opportunity to go enjoy the remainder of your Wednesday evening. Um, and then Helen, thank you. Helen, thank you all for being here. I appreciate you taking the time for us and your interest in being a part of the board of the ambassadors and just being involved here with Auburn. So like I said, we're going to stick around for a few more minutes, but War Eagle and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday night.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, thank you. This is a great turnout, and this really shows how much you love your kid that's at Auburn, and that's the key.
Absolutely. And I'll include this slide deck as well in case anybody would like to reference that also.
Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. War Eagle.
War Eagle. We're still here if you ask questions. Fire away.
All right. I don't see any questions, so I think we're going to officially sign off tonight. Thank you all for attending. Trent and Angie, thanks as always for your support.
Thank you all. Have a
Thank
good night.
you. Have a good night.
War Eagle.